Lock on! Kurumi arms! Mr. Knuckleman!
Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426, and today we have the review of the P-Bandai exclusive, or P-Bandai exclusive, SHF Kamen Rider Knuckle. Now, Kamen Rider Knuckle is from the Kamen Rider Gaim series. Now, fun fact regarding Kamen Rider Gaim is that it never aired in Korea because of the main characters or certain riders being too much of a Japanese samurai design. I assume Korea decided not to, take that in for some reason. But still, I still was able to watch the series through, online, and I really enjoyed the series. Granted, at first, the series wasn't really that well taken because of the, the dance and the dance battle and stuff. But later, the series get really, better. So, yeah. Anyway, this rider is basically one of those riders that shows up pretty late from the series, but still, I really like the concept because it's based on a walnut, and then the weapons are not your typical sword or gun or spear. He actually uses his fists and these giant knuckles, which is why I assume he decided to go with the name Kamen Rider Knuckle. Alright, so let's get on to the components right away. So first of all, what you get, of course, is obviously the rider himself, the Kamen Rider Knuckle, based on a walnut theme. So his armor has all these lumps and colors going on here. Equipment-wise, pretty much, these are the equipment setup that you're pretty much going to be using all the time, or most of the time. So other than the rider himself, you get these giant knuckles, which I believe are called Kurumi bombers. And then here we actually, despite how you have those hands, you still do get these regular hands. So number one, right off the box, the figure should have these typical fist hands on the arm. So yeah, you do still get normal hands, and then you get these multi-purpose hands. However, I'm pretty sure you won't be using these because there's no weapon to hold on unless you're making your own custom. And we have these open hands, kind of not your typical shaped hands, but because the four fingers are all connected together. But yeah, but if you want to use these, yeah, be my guest. And for some reason, we also get the we also get the closed up version of the walnut or kurumi lock seat. So yeah, that's a small bonus if you ask me. So yeah. Now on the belt there is the opened up version, so no big deal even if you use the closed up version. But once again, for the closed up version, there are certain riders that comes with the specific weapon that you can attach closed up lock seats. So those are pretty much meant for those. In this case, this rider does not have any, so yeah. Alright, so right off the bat, let's look at the articulation right away. So I really like the design because obviously I do like walnuts. I usually eat them a lot, so that's that. And the armor, I think they really, when the overall armor design, I think they matched up the walnut concept pretty well, if you ask me. So the head, I do like the head, and I do like the fact the eyes, you can see all those details going on in here. Now the head articulation is for some reason, compared to the past s.h.figuarts I have reviewed, the head or / neck articulation seems like it's lacking unless something's very stuck inside. So yeah, the neck joint on here seems to not be moving, so I might need to check that out. But technically, I mean, it is moving, but not as much to the front part for some reason, so I might need to check that out. But still, because of that, it doesn't go down that much. The head does not go down that much, but upwards it's a fairly okay amount. Now 360 is possible, but keep in mind there's a human inside, so that's technically not really necessary for that to go 360. Now the arms or the shoulders, the shoulder armor itself here is connected to the actual arm, so you should have no problems rotating the figure arms entirely 360, because some riders, their armor is actually connected to the main body, and that could actually affect the articulation of the arm. So that's that. And the armor itself is connected to ball joints and other joints, so you can pretty much move them in to some degree if you want to do so. Now the arms can go about to the side 90 degrees, so that should be no problem as well. And then the lower arm, the arm itself can go 360, and once again, being an s.h.figuarts, in this case, the elbow armor or the back armor can fall off, as you can see, so do be careful. So every time you buy a certain figure, do make sure that you have all these armor pieces. Now I haven't had a situation where I was lacking a piece, but still there was time where I found the piece lying on the ground after reviewing. So keep that in mind. Let me just get this back on there. Yeah, I'll put that back later. All right, and then bend wise, we do get a pretty decent bend going on here. It goes about more than 90 degrees, so that's pretty much enough for you to do so. And now let's get these knuckles. These giant knuckles are called Kurumi bombers. They're basically giant boxing gloves. When this character actually transformed for the first time, he actually fought pretty well for his first time being in battle. Basically, he can punch his enemies with with powerful knuckles, or he can definitely power up his attacks using the belt. So yeah, just to give you guys an idea, since we don't have any hands, you actually use the same ball joints as the hands for the glove. So now some people may not like that aspect, but it's a very firm connection. So I'd rather have a firm connection rather than having a hand and then putting a handle and having a wobbly connection. So yeah, so that's that. And just for your reference there, since it is on a ball joint, you can rotate the gloves 360, but sometimes there will be parts that can be in the way, but you can kind of force your way through to go in to rotate. So just make sure that you know what you're doing. Alright, and then the main body wise, we do have a nice ab crunch, going forward and backward, no problem, side to side, no problem. Now 360, I can only move the front top section, but once again, being a human type figure, there's no reason for that to go 360. And then the chest armor here, now it may look a little bit odd on camera, but yeah, it's just the way how this part is painted. It's just like a flat painted piece, so which is why it may look very awkward on camera. And then looking at the back, here we have these parts. They may look like it can flip up, but no, that's just the way how the concept is, because when they transform, basically a giant ball is something on top of them. It latches onto the character, and then it opens up in various ways, which is why this is here. So no need to freak out. Now the belt seems to be on a very stable position. I haven't had the belt actually wobble around, because recent s.h.f. Figuarts, the belt tends to wobble around, but this one, very stable connection. Now the belt here is the single driver. As you can see, there is no faceplate on this side, so this means this is actually a mass production type belt. In that, yes, in the series they actually originally they have the main character's belt, so which can be only used by a specific character, but they later made these mass production types as well. So the only issue I was having is that the lock seat, it doesn't tend to stay onto the belts, which is why I actually had the Sengoku driver help me out. Here we have the small blade here. Now in the series they would slash down this blade, and then to perform their powerful attacks, they're usually all the way up. So, but just for the sake of this figure, I actually kind of lower it down just a little bit, so that it actually blocks the lock seat from falling off the belt. So yeah, a slight minor issue, but I could technically fix that by gluing it on. So yeah. Alright, now looking at the leg structures are pretty much familiar with what we're used to. So you have a nice side swivel going on here, and all the joints are very stable, so that's a very good bonus, because sometimes when you get a figure, either like one of these joints can be very loose. So I haven't had that problem with this figure. So 360, you have a nice side swivel, you can go to the side about 90 degrees. Going forward should be no problem. Backward, as usual, not fully, because of the design here on the back. And then bend wise, we get a nice bend going on here. And then feet wise, you can go 360. Well, once again, being human, that's not really possible for real. And you get a nice pivot joint going on here, and then nice toe bend. Every joint here is all looking stable. Alright, so we've seen the basics of the figure. So articulation wise, it's very stable. A lot of good articulation, no loose points. And overall, I think it's really faithful to the main show character. Now, obviously, this character is a premium Bandai because he's not a main character type, and I don't think he was popular enough to the point to get a retail release. Granted, of course, there was a movie version where later he does get like an upgraded form, but sadly, I don't think we will be getting that in SHF. All right, so I'll be right back with a posing demonstration, and we'll end it off there. Okay, I'm back. So here we have a simple pose of doing a uppercut. This character actually does do a few uppercuts to his enemies. So yeah, I think they did a pretty good job on the overall design and articulation, to the point where he can pull off pretty much most of his poses that he was doing in the main series. Now there are obviously other ways to pose this character, and there are also multiple ways to show his attacks, because in the series one of his attacks would be just a very powerful punch or something he could actually fire his knuckles to his enemies. So there are multiple ways to play around with this figure. So overall, I say this is a very good figure, pretty well made and faithful to the actual character from the series, and just overall fun to deal with. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the review. This was the review of the P-Bandai exclusive SHF Kamen Rider Knuckle from the Kamen Rider Gaim series. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave them comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.